Okay. Um, let's talk a little bit about just the review. I'm going to turn down the audio a little bit. Um, we're going to review the game real quick. This is what I think of it. I think the story itself. Okay, how do I want to do this quick review? Um, let's start with the story. The running theme of Khazan was, to me, how far are you willing to go for love? Throughout the campaign, we see people continuously searching for their loved one in this chaotic world. They'll go back searching for them. They'll be asking questions what happened. And then the overall big plot is Ozma getting revenge for Reese and eventually trying to bring her back, which clearly it didn't work. You see the connection between Khazan and Ozma and Reese. You see it between Khazan and Elamane. How far are you willing to go? And I think that's Khazan's big theme here. And as you can see, Ozma's love for Reese, he basically became this chaos master to someone, according to the ending here. Chaos remains. And now Khazan's left to pick up the pieces. I've said throughout my videos that I thought the storyline was a bit weak because that's all it is, but the reality is it's simple, but it's still a good story. Doesn't have to be over the top, difficult to understand like the Soulsborne games or the Elden Ring games where you need to watch, videos of people explaining lore. This is pretty straightforward. So overall, not a difficult story to follow. Pretty simple theme, good plot. Nice thing about it too is you don't have to run around, you know where to go, you just follow the storyline. There's no confusion with that for the most part. Now we get to the combat of the game. It's definitely not like your typical Souls games. It is a very, it's a very complex, but also simple style. It's complex in the way that you have a lot of different options, but it's simple enough where if you just know how to do a few of these options, you'll be fine. You don't need to do all these fancy combos. It'll help, but you don't need it to get by. And I can appreciate that with Khazan. I really can. You have that whole scale of what's possible, what isn't possible, how high the skill ceiling is. That's the difference. You could probably get so good at comboing, understanding what works. You could probably just do a whole combo perfectly in a single boss fight and they never have a chance to fight you, or a very small chance of fighting you. I imagine there's players out there with that kind of skill, with that kind of knowledge. I am not one of them. Um, but just with the great sword build, it felt right. The movement felt right with a great sword. It's what you expect. I'm a big fan of blocking more than dodging, is what I've come to realize with like games of Lies of P and here. Um, so the fact that great sword is the big guarding one really worked out well. In the future, I might do spear. I might do the two dual wielding. I don't know, but I enjoyed the greatsword a lot. And I imagine the spear and dual wielding is going to be a faster paced game because with the greatsword, yeah, you can land your combos and stuff, but you're more on the defensive for the most part. You're taking those openings. You're relying less on dodge attacks. So I think the combat was overall unique, fun, exciting. The design of Fashion Souls brought it in, so let's talk a little bit about that. All these armors I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed that you can customize it. But my favorite part is that you do not need um you essentially get overrides. You can wear whatever you want, and then you can get the customization options to make the armor look like something that you want to wear. I think that's really cool. I really enjoy that. Um, for the most part, I kind of stuck with what I wanted to once I hit the Chaos Redden armor. That's pretty much my big go-to here, it seemed. It worked really well with the Great Sword. I don't really have too many complaints with it at all. Let's get to the bosses. The bosses were unique. I liked the variety. There are only a couple fights that I didn't like to deal with, and that was Elamane's fight because she chilled behind the shield the whole time. So it's a little frustrating dealing with that, especially when I'm thinking fast pace, and they're just chilling behind the shield. That's a bias. Someone else might like that. Someone else might, maybe it's better with the spear. Maybe it's better with the dual wielding. I struggled a bit with the great sword. Maybe I should have thrown more heavies in. I don't know, but it was pretty good. Towards the end, I was starting to get that fatigue because the bosses have so much HP. This final boss fight with Ozma, that one was rough on the terms of it started becoming an endurance game more than anything. I mean, I was learning, I was getting better, but ultimately, I don't want to spend hours upon hours upon hours of figuring this out. Um, Ozma's fight overall took me about 4 hours. Ozma, the boss fight, took me around 4 hours to actually beat. Um, but it was just a lot of HP. It was a lot of fighting. It was a lot. This is the best way to put it. It was a lot, guys. Um, Definitely frustrating from time to time with just it felt like getting spammed a lot, but that might also be a bias because I like to think I'm an aggressive player, so being patient is not my strongest suit. But it was the bosses overall were fun. They were challenging. They had a lot going for them. They had a lot of variety. They weren't just the same boss hashed over. The major bosses, anyway. Now, if we go on the bonus missions, well, they were fine. I think you didn't need to have that many bonus missions because you're just fighting, elite minions, essentially. And the stories the stories were okay. They didn't like over the top intrigue me. They were okay. But bosses overall, main bosses were cool. Enjoyed them. Elamine really kicked my ass. Struggled with her. Ozma. He was a rough one just because of the slugfest. I don't think I've had to use so many healing items just to keep up. I thought phase 3 of that fight was going to be a lot harder though, so I was playing I was trying to keep my resources as best as I could. Um, because I haven't seen anyone fight Ozma, so I wasn't sure what to expect. Very long boss fight though. But overall, I enjoyed the boss fights. I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the uniqueness. I enjoyed the combat system. The music. Let's talk a little bit about like the music overall. I think it was an excellent selection. Reese had excellent music. You know, Elamine, Ozma, all of them were these intense, or it fit their personalities. I have very little complaints about the music. Um, the art style, I think I was a little skeptical, and from what I've heard talking with friends, they've been a little skeptical with Khazan's art style because of how it looks like this anime. There's a bit of, that anime look to it. I actually like it. I like it because it's different, it's unique. It's refreshing in a way. I just like the style. Like that's all I can really say about it. I like the style. Let's talk about a bit about the NPCs. It they had a little bit of build up. You understood them, why they're here for the most part, what they're fighting for, how they relate and fit into the story. They were very basic, straight to the point, and that was very much in line with the overall storyline. So you can tell the team focused much more on the combat system than the story. But once again, it doesn't have to be that complex to actually enjoy the game. Would I make any changes? My only changes, I think, is they just had so much health, I guess. That's the biggest thing to say. They just had so much health. Um, it became a slugfest and became very frustrating on some of these. I think Ozma's been the first time I've lost my cool on stream when it comes down to any major bosses. Um, any other changes I think I would make? Oh, I know. Freaking giving more hints on getting the true ending. I don't know if it says it in the game, but I think it's some bullshit that I have to Google a true ending. And if I didn't get all 15 of these notes and then talk to Defrina or Daffron or Duddy, I don't get the true ending. I think that's some bullshit. I think it's tedious and I think it's a headache. I don't like that at all. If you hide the true story, and I already made my choice, that doesn't mean I'm gonna go and start a new game all over so I can get the true ending. I'll just Google it. I will YouTube the true ending. The ending you guys saw was um I don't even know. If you if you don't do the bonus missions, you end up just getting the two phases. If you do this and the bonus mission, you end up getting the ending I just got. And then if you do the bonus missions, and then you get the 15 unique items or whatever from Ozma's journal, you get a different dialogue. So if you're watching that, make sure you're doing that. Make sure you Google it. Make sure you double check it. Um, Game was a bit longer than I think it needed to be just because of the side missions. It was a lot of redundant bosses. Storyline was kind of weak for that. I think if you just stuck with the main story, that would have been enough. The places and the areas, I like those. I like the changes. I like the uniqueness. My least favorite part was probably the labs, but that's a personal bias. I I didn't really care for them. That's literally just a personal bias. Let's see here. Any other important information regarding this game? If you want to be pushed to your limits, if you want to be challenged, if you don't want the hand holding for the most part, um, if you want to learn resource, if you want to learn combos, if you want to push your coordination, Khazan's a game for you. I think it's like easy, beginner, expert, and then hard mode or something like that. I was playing the normal difficulty that was intended. There's an easier version of it, and then there's a harder version of it that I wasn't able to get until I beat this version. Um, but overall, good game. I think anyone that's looking for a Soulsborne, Souls-like game, Kazan's good. Be prepared to be challenged. And if you made it this far in the series here, make sure to like and subscribe. Really helps me out. And I will see you on the next one. Bye.